handle the truth.
I'll be back.
It's alive!
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Hi, this is Joe, and this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Filmjoe Podcast, where we talk about films, filmmakers, trends, good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and for the love of film. I'm Joe, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Carlos.
The one, the only.
Outstanding. So this week we're going to continue the setup that we did last week of two films come out the same year, similar themes, similar type of film, and we're going to find out who did it better.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, but before we continue, just a little reminder, we're not professional critics here. Don't take our word for it. We're far from, but we're just a couple of movie fans who love to talk about film. And in this episode, we may have some spoilers. So if you haven't seen these films already, be warned. As with each episode, we give a rating, scale of 1 to 10. And on this one, because we're doing werewolf movies, scale of 1 to 10, howls.
What about full moons?
Okay, full moons. Okay, full moons. Full moons?
Howls is like,
well, that's a werewolf, isn't it?
Well, so are full moons.
Well, full moon can also be I guess so. Okay, we'll go with full moons, okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Are you happy now?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, good. But first, it's time for... news bits. Not much in the news, except for the fact that, let's see. Godzilla -1, which you have seen.
Yes.
Is getting another release.
It deserves it, man.
In black and white.
Ooh.
Yes, I guess in honor of the original 1954 Godzilla, which was in black and white. So, yeah, it's definitely making waves and getting a lot of great reviews, and it keeps generating a steady box office. It's not in the $1 billion club, but it just, off a $15 million budget, it keeps going and going and going. So
yeah.
So it's doing pretty well. Let's see, what else? Aquaman did not do well in his preview screenings. And so it looks like it's going to bomb.
I could have told you that, man.
Yeah, and DC, I guess James Gunn, who's in charge of the DC EU plus tax universe.
Yeah.
They've already stated over there that they're done with Aquaman. Yeah. I mean, when are they going to get the hint? These superhero movies are not doing well. They're not going to do well unless they are exceptional, unless they have something different. I mean, Aquaman, you know. Now, Deadpool 3.
That shit's going to be amazing.
That's going to be really good because, I mean, it has a hook. It has something different. It's something we really want to look forward to. So, but other than that, I mean, there's not really much movie news that I have to report on. You got anything? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, what do you say we claw our way into this episode? I made up for the howl.
Yeah.
Okay. So these two films they deeply divide a lot of werewolf fans. Some will swear by one, some will swear by the other, but one camp definitely is bigger than the other, believe it or not, on these two films, where one is considered in general superior to the other. I'm in the small camp.
Okay.
So let's go get into it. So the first film, it has a reporter who faces a big bad wolf. Thank you.
Stranger died in an attempted assault of KDHB anchorwoman Karen White.
There's this blood on me, and I can't imagine who it might have come from.
I'm going to recommend that you go out to the colony for a week or two.
I was here this morning.
God, look at the door. Bill just got bitten by a wolf.
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Your classic werewolf can change shape anytime it wants, day and night, whenever it takes a notion.
After a bizarre and near-deadly encounter with a serial killer, a television newswoman is sent to a remote mountain resort whose residents may not be what they seem. The film we're talking about is The Howling, released on April 10th, 1981, and it's directed by Joe Dante, director of such great films as Gremlins.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know that one. I know the name.
Yeah, and Inner Space, amongst other great films that he's directed. The film stars Dee Wallace, E.T.'s mom.
Mm-hmm.
No, but not his biological mom.
Yeah,
but
little 4 foot, two, big head,
that guy,
long finger.
It stars Dee Wallace, Patrick McNee, and Christopher Stone. Okay, so this is the first time you've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this, must be easily about 50 times.
Sure.
Love this movie, but give me your first initial takes on this.
So, since we're doing a werewolf episode, I expected a lot of werewolf.
Right.
And this one delivered more. You get that. You get the transformations, right? You get the actual to be able to see the creatures more, and for me, that's like a big plus on top of any werewolf transformation movie.
Kind of like your
time travel movie.
Yeah. It needs to have a time travel machine.
It needs to have a time travel machine. Okay,
and this needed a werewolf, and it had
a transformation. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was great. I mean, did you like it? I mean, what you think?
I really liked it. It was pretty good. I sat down in front of the TV and I just started wrapping the gifts, and I would get like one side folded and I'd be like, oh. And then I'd be like, oh shit, okay, fold the other side. Oh fuck, oh. So it took me like half of the movie just to wrap 2 presents.
Well, what I love about this film is that it has a cheesy B-flick appeal.
Yeah.
But it takes itself seriously. Now, there's some bad films that take themselves seriously, which shouldn't. This one is cheesy, it's hokey, it's B-flick, and it takes itself seriously, and it works.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Joe Dante really does respect and like the werewolf genre. And, of course, he was a child of, he grew up with the original werewolf, the Wolfman, that came out of, 41, 42, around there. So it definitely has that old school horror movie thing going. Yeah. It's creepy. It has callbacks and respect for the old school werewolf films. And okay, let's talk about the special effects.
Fucking gnarly, dude. Fucking gnarly.
Incredible. The special effects man on this was special effects man by the name of Rob Bottin, which we've mentioned before in our special effects episode.
Yeah, Bowtie.
Bowtie.
Yeah.
Rob
Bowtie.
Bottin.
Bowtie.
Bottin.
Yeah.
Bowtie.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with that. And just an FX master. He has a long list of great horror films that he's done to his credit. But he kind of fell into this fame by accident with this film. He got known for this, but it was kind of an accident. Because it was Rick Baker who was working on An American Werewolf for London. Mm-hmm. They were working on it, developing all these FX techniques and stuff with the bladders, these rubber bladders, the extending snout, all this good stuff with John Landis over in London. They were working on this film. They ran out of money. Mm-hmm. So Rick Baker was like, well, fuck, what do we do? He goes, well, I'll call you back when we got money. So Rick Baker goes and get a job with Joe Dante on The Howling with an assistant named Rob Bottin. So they're working on the film. They're getting all this pre-production stuff going, and Rick Baker's throwing in all kinds of shit. He's throwing everything in but the kitchen sink. Mm-hmm. When he gets a call deep into pre-production from John Landis of American Werewolf for London.
Okay. Oh.
So, yes, and it's like, guess what, Rick? We got the money. Get on a plane. Get out here, and let's get this film done. Mm-hmm. Rick is like, well, I have a job already. Oh, you working on something? Oh, okay. Well, what are you working on? He goes, well, I'm working on a werewolf movie. John Landis says, excuse me? Yeah, with Joe Dante, The Howling. You what? John Landis flipped his lid, lost this shit, and he says, did you show him this trick or that trick? Well, you know what? Get your ass on a plane now. Get out here. If you don't, you'll never work in this town again.
Oogie.
So Rick Baker said, fuck it. So he briefed Rob Bottin and said, okay, I got to go. You're in charge. You're the man. Mm-hmm. And he took off.
Oh, shit.
And Rick Baker ended up winning an Academy Award for The Werewolf of London. And Rob Bottin ended up winning a lot of respect and acknowledgement for his work. And he became a legend just from that.
Yeah.
And but there is one other thing that while he was working on it, there was a couple of scenes where there's werewolves that kind of leap. There was one or two shots somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, Rob Bottin was working on that leaping werewolf at his house in his backyard. So he has a springboard with the werewolf on it.
That's cool.
And testing to see, how far it can leap. Well, he sets it off and that fucking thing goes flying through the air, over the fence and into the neighbor's garden.
Oh,
head first. Yeah, imagine knocking on the door. Excuse me.
My werewolf is in your backyard.
It's in your garden and
Can I go get it?
Right. But yeah, I mean, I love it. It has a creepy, cheesy. I love the score. It has to just again. One can look at it and go, they're trying too hard to be creepy and but it works.
Yeah.
And I have to say that's John Landis's old school film approach, and it's just great. Some of the behind the scenes stuff.
You mean Mr. Dante?
Who did I say?
You said Landis. He did American Werewolf.
Oh yeah. Well, you got me there.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting?
Fact checker.
Is that there is a great documentary for those of you who love horror films. There's 3 great documentaries. They're each 3 hours plus. And they're called In Search of Darkness, In Search of Darkness 2, and In Search of Darkness 3. And if you love horror films, they go deep into the horror film genre of the 80s. One of those segments, they talk about The Howling and American Werewolf of London. And you have Joe Dante, that was taken about a few years ago, and John Landis in an interview together.
Trip out.
And they're like, yeah, I remember when you stole that idea from me, and they kind of go back and forth on it because they were the dueling werewolf movies of the time. So one thing about this, it did have, obviously, you could tell it had a low budget.
Yeah.
Very low budget. But again,
I mean, some of the acting was,
it was questionable. It really was. But in the case like this, it's about the
effects
and the creep factor and the story kind of.
I will say, though, it had more story to be told than an American Werewolf.
It actually did.
It had more story. Like American Werewolf, no hate to it. It was a good movie, but story. 2 backpackers in Europe get attacked by werewolf. One of them turns werewolf. He goes to London.
That's the plot.
Scene. Go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
I think so. I agree. I mean, well, this one is based on a novel by a writer named Gary Bratner. And so it was based on a novel. So the novel, obviously, is chock full of plot and character. Sure. I mean, they have to chop up a lot. But surprisingly, the novel is very close to the book. I mean, she's not a reporter in the book, I don't think. But it's the same situation. A woman goes through a traumatic experience of some guy who's a serial killer, who's actually a werewolf. And she goes to a resort to untangle her fucked upness.
And then ends up in a fucking cult for werewolves.
A cult of werewolves.
Yeah.
But I love that. I mean, you have that. She goes to this, ironically, away from a werewolf to a werewolf commune.
Yeah.
And, but everybody's kind of nice, almost sugary nice. And it's such a perfect environment. And you just kind of see, it's almost a Stepford effect. Stepford Wives was a movie back in the 70s. About a community of perfect wives. They were all robots. Really trippy film. They did a remake with Nicole Kidman in maybe the late mid-90s. But the original just a campy, cheesy, trippy comedy. But, it's all about, it's not all is what it seems. And we all have this darkness within. And they kind of try to, be one of us kind of thing. But I mean, just, it really draws you in. And I saw this in the movie theater when I was like, I think it was 15 in downtown LA. And I got out of the movie theater around 10 o'clock at night to catch the bus with my buddy. Now, anybody's ever grown up in LA or downtown LA, especially in the 80s, there must have been werewolves out there because it was creepy as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was freaked out. But
Harry Homeless or Werewolf?
Yeah. I saw that on a double bill with Lethal Weapon. And that was pretty neat. Due to the low budget, one complaint I do have, and I know it was due to the low budget, the ending. at the end, our hero or heroine, the reporter, which is played by Dee Wallace, she becomes a werewolf.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's, throughout the course of the film, her and her co-anchor reporter friend,
colleague,
they fight their way out of the werewolf commune, and they want to get this truth out there. So they're like, you know what? We're going to put you before the camera. You're going to turn into a werewolf while explaining all this stuff that's going on. And of course, he shoots her on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that effect was shit. Look, you got these werewolves that have these long snouts and all this babas hanging, all these snarly, nasty shit.
And she ended up looking like an Ewok.
An Ewok. A cute little puppy with a little wet nose. And she's like, and she's crying. And then you hear bang. Oh, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
But that's because they ran out of money.
Mm.
And so they ended up shooting this at Joe Dante's office. And that's why you only see her face. You don't see her whole body, because apparently in the script was a whole transformation sequence. The money shot. Yeah. But they couldn't afford it. But, it was okay. That ending was okay.
Okay. Personally, it's a better fucking ending than American Werewolf.
Oh, no.
No. Yes. Expose the truth. Fight the system. Reveal the conspiracy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fucker ends up dead in an alleyway. Cut to the credits.
Well, you know what?
Come on.
Okay, in the case of the Howling, she's out to expose, because, the main guy of the commune, he's some sort of like Dr. Phil, self-help kind of celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And, come to my commune. Yes, we'll bite you, you be one of us.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid, exactly. It's that whole cult thing. And, yeah, but the other one is just, it's the whole European folklore kind of angle versus a host. Maybe that's why there's no plot in the first one. It's just the folklore of werewolves in Europe.
I guess. But, yeah.
But overall, they definitely, so they shot that just on the whim and stuff, that ending. But again, I think it was still pretty effective. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty sad, her cute little puppy dog nose, and she's crying. And anyway, now here's an interesting fact. Did you know, supposedly, this film takes place in the same universe as Gremlins?
Really?
Yes. Okay. What's Eddie? What's his call sign? What is his thing that he leaves behind? Happy face sticker.
Oh, there you go.
The yellow happy face sticker.
Yeah.
That same sticker, identical, can be seen on the refrigerator in the movie Gremlins.
Huh.
One of the reporters in Gremlins is the same reporter from The Howling.
Oh, shit.
Of course, it's directed by the same guy.
Yeah.
So theoretically, we have evil gremlins and evil werewolves hanging out together. One not as
the demise of the world, man.
Yeah. Well, not as funny and cute as the other, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
So they kind of take place in the same in the universe, which I was unaware of, but interesting. And also, little side note: Christopher Stone, who plays her husband on this, they were already engaged in real life when they did this film together, and they got married shortly after. Unfortunately, Christopher Stone, he was up and coming. He died of cancer a few years later, or I think it was maybe 10 years after. But a good actor. I dug it. And with the hamburger chick.
Oh,
the hamburger werewolf.
Yeah,
because she Mr. The reporter's husband, when they go to this commune, he meets up with this really hot, exotic, strange, weird caveman. Yeah, I'll suck your fucking soul out of your dick. This broad is scary.
Yeah.
And she's like, kind of,
Yeah,
oh man,
cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool cat.
And at the end, they gather, the reporter chick and her colleague. They round up all the werewolves in the barn and they burn them all to death, including sexy werewolf chick.
Yeah, that was a shame.
But she survived.
She did.
She did. And then he's like, at the end, there's somebody cooking a hamburger, and so, well, how do you want your hamburger? And then they cut to her face. She goes,
rare.
Oh man,
my meat rare.
It was hilarious. Yeah. But Gary Bradner, he wrote. He didn't work on the in the script. He worked on the sequel, which we'll get to in a bit. Oh God, yeah. But nonetheless, despite the fact that these two films were very high profile for werewolf movies the same year, one of course got more attention than the other. One won more awards. One was from a studio. One was not. One was from an indie studio. I think it was AFCO Embassy.
Yep.
Yeah, AFCO Embassy, in Werewolf was, I think, Colombia or something like that. Well, and one had a more high profile director. I mean, John Landis, we'll get to him in a bit. But they both really got a lot of praise evenly for the special effects. And that's where the debate comes in. Who did it better? Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, another thing. It's interesting. This is one of the more modern portrayals of a female werewolf.
Where Underworld is another.
No, but this was 1981.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to think of when the hell have I seen a female werewolf?
Once in a while they pop up, but they
She-Wolf?
She-Wolf, that was after. So a lot of people. That's not a
I'm
movie.
I'm just naming things, man.
I'm like She-Wolf. I'm like an idiot. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. 1981, directed by Steve Buscemi.
There you go, Steve Buscemi, damn good director.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much generally believed that was the first time that they portrayed a female werewolf in a film. But it's not true. There was actually a couple of films back in the 40s. There was one in 1944 called Cry the Werewolf that had a female werewolf in it. Werewolf. And then in 19... Yeah. And then there was a second one called La Loba in 1965.
La Loba.
La Loba. I'd pay to see. That sounds good. I haven't even seen the
I don't
trailer.
know, man. I would watch it.
I'd watch that. But this is the first, in 81 with this one was a more higher profile first female werewolf, which is pretty cool. So again, as we mentioned before, this movie was a low budget film. Mm-hmm. And it had a budget of about $1.5 million, which is about $6 million today.
Damn.
That is nothing. Box office at the time of release, it made 17.9, about 18 million, which in today is about 61 to 62 million.
Oh yeah, that's a profit right there.
It is a profit, and apparently it is, spun off the sequels. So reviews and scores. We're going to go to your man of the hour, your favorite critic of all time, Mr. Roger Ebert.
Fuck this pretension.
Roger Ebert he gave this. I remember this review. I saw it on TV back in the day. Roger Ebert gave it 2 out of 4 stars, and he called it the silliest film. What was it? Was it the silliest film he's seen in some time? He did say that the special effects were really good, and it's worth your money if you get a 2-for-1 deal.
Okay.
So, but he did think it was a silly ass movie. Gene Siskel, however, his partner, gave this one 3.5 stars.
Whoa.
So he understood it. I mean, Gene Siskel was also a fan of Saturday Night Fever, another great film. And so he knew his stuff. So yeah, Ebert, your buddy, did not care much for it.
I don't care much for him.
IMDb, it's sitting at a 6.5. Metacritic, 68. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 74% with critics. Audience score about 60. It's interesting how there's a higher critic score in general than the audience.
Yeah.
But I have a theory for that. Letterboxd, 3.3 stars out of 5. The reason I think it has a higher critic rating is because not as many people at the time saw it in the theater, because it was up against, I mean, you look at the 80s, it was chock full of big movies. So a little film like this, an indie film, would just kind of disappear in the background.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it was.
Gain more publicity later on.
Yeah. I mean, even though it did do very well box office wise. So the film did have a shit ton of sequels, believe it or not.
I can believe that.
And none of them were even worth watching. Joe Dante was not involved in any of them. And they just went from bad to worse. Here's the sequel. Get this one, okay? Now, Gary Bradner, who wrote the original novel, he wrote the screenplay for the sequel.
Okay.
You think, right? Whoa,
That means something.
The Howling 2. Your sister is a werewolf.
Oh, wow.
I'm not kidding.
That sounds like a Goosebumps title.
That was fucking horrible. I saw it. I was so excited because, again, when I read the book when it came out, loved it. Underlined all the dirty parts because there was a lot of dirty parts in there. Those wolves fuck like crazy. This one came out in 1985. 1987, you have The Howling 3. 1980, The Howling, The Howling 4, the original Nightmare, Howling 5, The Rebirth in 1990, The Howling 6, The Freaks, The Howling, New Moon Rising in 1995, and finally in 2011, The Howling Reborn. And they all sucked. I mean, if they had $1.5 million budget on the first one, the second one was probably about $1.95.
Yeah.
They look like fucking hand puppets. It was ridiculous. It was horrible. Nobody from the original was in it. Nobody in their right mind would do this film. So yeah, but surprisingly, it had that many sequels. And I mean, I had hope for The Howling Reborn when it came out, but it didn't do well. Shit. Yeah. So I'm gonna kick it off with my rating.
Sure.
Cheesy, great old school B-flick horror movie. Takes itself just seriously enough that you gotta respect it for what it's trying to do, and it's effective with its special effects.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10 howls, full moons, I give it an 8 out of 10 full moons.
Yeah, solid.
I'm sorry, what? No, 8.5. I misread it.
Yeah,
I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, the movie is effective. Again, maybe it's because non-pretentious, and it's just telling a good old-fashioned story.
Yeah.
I mean, they even have that scene in there where they're watching TV, and it's an old movie. Remember that? If you're bitten by a wolf, da 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 da. You remember that?
Yeah.
It's a clip,
and it's in black and white.
Yeah, and it pays respect to the genre, and I think that's why I love it so much. 8.5 out of me. What about you?
So for me, it does a couple things, right? It talks about like the mysticism of it too, right?
Yes.
Something that was absent in its competitor,
right?
In my eyes, I like the mysticism behind it. You don't just turn into a fucking wolf because a wolf bites you.
Right.
Not how it works. It has to be mystical and this being of folklore and tales and shit, right?
Okay.
That can only be killed with the silver bullet,
right?
That is seen in the fucking movie, right? So that kind of it tickles a little bit, right?
Okay.
Also, the transformations were gory as shit. And you see the fucking creatures like face to face with people. Like you get close up shots of like their arms and everything.
Right.
Gnarly as shit, man. I gotta say 8.5 too.
8.5, yeah. They weren't afraid to show you the money shots.
Well, I mean, they're paying,
a
hefty amount.
I mean, I think because they use this technique called bladders, which typically they use condoms. Because it's so, yeah, they're strong apparently, the Trojan protection, but they're very flexible and they're very easy to use and they're cheap, and they blow them with air, and under a false skin. I mean, just incredible fucking look. The scene where the one of the female characters cuts off a werewolf's arm.
Oh yeah,
and it starts to transform back into a human arm.
Yeah, that shit was gross.
I mean. Damn, and the shame, again, that would all be digital today.
Yeah.
All right, so for our next film, it's time to go backpacking in London.
Did you hear that?
Listen.
Must go to them.
It's circling us.
No one brought them here. No one wanted them here.
Sounds far away.
Not far enough. Come on.
It's in God's hands now.
Two American college students on a walking tour of Britain are attacked by a werewolf that none of the locals will admit exists. What are you laughing at?
This fucking thing. Werewolf. Their wolf. Their castle.
Okay, folks, that is a reference to an amazing film called Young Frankenstein, where there's a line that says, there's a werewolf. Werewolf. Their wolf. Their castle.
Oh man, sorry. I apologize.
If you folks have not seen it, do yourself a favor. It's amazing.
Jesus Christ, man.
All right. So the film is An American Werewolf in London. This one was released in August of 1981. Directed by John Landis, director of such amazing films like The Blues Brothers, Coming to America, Thriller, Animal House, and Trading Places. The film stars David Naughton and Griffin Dunne. All right. So you've seen this one before.
Yes.
All right. So what's your take?
Okay, kinda. You know what's funny?
Mhm.
I've seen the Howling before, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was just remembering it while I was rewatching it right now.
Okay.
I've never seen all the way through the American Werewolf in London.
Oh, okay.
Funny enough, while I was watching both of them back to back, I was like, wow, both of them are gonna have transformation scenes in a porno viewing room.
Wow.
Why? Like,
You know-
what the fuck is the correlation between both of them? Just porno.
Beastly sex.
Oh,
That's the animal,
Yeah,
animalistic lust and energy. I don't know.
Damn. Okay, you know, I never thought about it like
Yeah,
that.
and
I just thought they were horny.
I've never caught. Well, yeah, but I've never caught that correlation actually.
Yeah, both of them. They both have the transformations. In American Werewolf, it's at the very end when he's in a room full of people and he goes, you know.
Wow, that was pretty
very werewolfy. I know.
Yeah, werewolfy. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, because there's a scene where our hero who gets, because basically the gist is two American dudes, college guys. They're in London. They're backpacking and everything, and they kind of get lost a little bit. It's getting kind of dark, so they go to a pub, and they're eating and drinking or whatever, and they say the wrong thing in regards to the pentagram, which is to ward off werewolves. But they don't really like to acknowledge that dark side of their village.
Yeah.
So they kick them the fuck out.
Yeah.
At night, during the full moon.
Fun.
That's some fucked up. I mean, that's not hospitality. And then later on, after like an hour, they're like, maybe we shouldn't have kicked them out.
Maybe that wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah, let's go get them. They're probably fucking dead by now. But they go on after them. And one of them gets bitten by a werewolf and the other one gets killed by the werewolf. And throughout the entire film, David Naughton, who plays David, the main character who's turning into a werewolf, he's being haunted by his friend who is decaying. He's dead and he's all tore up.
That was fucked up.
Oh, man. And he's basically telling, listen, there's a curse. I cursed.
Can't rest until you die.
So he's telling his best friend, fucking kill yourself.
I want to go to sleep.
Oh,
Bye.
man. But what did you think? And it's great because throughout the whole film, Griffin Dunne, great actor. To me, he stole the show. Any scene he was in, great actor. He's dead. He's all scarred up. You see pieces of his flesh.
It was very trippy to see him when, especially as the movie progressed, and he's now turning from reddish, human skin tones to green and black
and purple.
And, oh God, it was gnarly to see, and it was definitely a cool detail that was introduced into the movie, kind of keeping that mysticism.
Right.
Of, hey, if you get turned into a werewolf, you're gonna have to see the dead people that you've killed.
Right.
That's
hence the
fucked.
curse.
Yeah.
Which I think in that capacity, I think it was slightly better than the Howling. It gave it some depth.
Yeah. Original depth.
Original depth.
That you don't really see with other werewolf lore.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's and this one had a much more lighter tone.
Yeah.
It was more tongue in cheek. It was just fun.
He hooked up with the nurse, so that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, every guy's fantasy.
Hey, man.
With an accent, a British accent. I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a preference between the two, but I love this one just the same as well. Even though I have a preference, kind of go, okay, which one is a better film and which one do I like better? Those are two different things.
Sure.
I have tons of movies like that I'm like, I love this one, but this is a better film. And in this case, this is a better film. Better director, better setup, better cinematography.
Better actors, too.
Better actors.
Even though the nurse was a background character, she was still pretty good.
Yeah, even the doctor and the detective. I mean, all these side characters. And of course, again, Griffin Dunne, who plays his best friend, which was perfect. Look at the setup. You got two friends. They're both goofy and fun-loving, whatever. But one's a smart ass. And you really get to like him. He's the one who fucking gets killed.
Yeah.
And you feel for him, but you also feel for David because he's now in love with this nurse, but he's a werewolf.
Nah, man, I couldn't feel for David. It was what was his fucking friend's name in the movie? Fuck it, we'll call him Brian.
Brian,
right?
Okay.
They're walking about in the field, right? And David trips and he goes, "Oh shit!
Right.
Oh, you fell, you fucking loser!" Tries to go pick him up. Werewolf attacks his friend, and he goes, "Fuck! It's too late for you. Bye!" and runs the other fucking way.
Dude, there's a 600-pound werewolf in front of you.
Dude, if that's my best friend that we went to Europe together, fuck it. We fighting this werewolf, both of us, and we dying.
I'm sorry. I'm like, brother, I love you, man, but you dead.
But it's too late for you.
Right, exactly.
I can still make it out.
I can still make it.
I'll tell my kids about you.
And ironically, he gets scratched and,
Yeah.
and turns into a werewolf. Hence, maybe that represented his penance or his punishment for running out on his friend. Being cut, just turning into a werewolf.
Yeah. Granted, I say these things now,
Right.
but I know in basic human preservation, is going to be like, oh, shit, it's too late for him. I'm out.
Well,
I can still make it.
Well, the whole fight or flight instinct.
Oh, yeah, that shit kicks in.
But it's very selective. It's dependent on a situation.
Oh, yeah.
Fight or flight. You're walking with your best friend, your brother, whatever, and they get jumped by some dude. Fight or flight.
Oh, fight.
You fight.
Of course.
I'm going to take this fucking guy.
Yeah, fucking take his head.
It's a fucking werewolf. Fight. I'm getting the fuck.
Yeah, man. I'm out of here. Usain Bolt.
Reality
got
kicks
nothing
in.
on me, man.
Yeah, reality kicks in. I can beat some dude off, but this guy, no, it's a werewolf.
Yeah, werewolf.
600 pounds of claws and fangs. No thanks.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that was kind of fucked up. But you got to understand why,
I mean, I get it, but he doesn't know if it's a werewolf. His own words. It was dark, and I thought it might have been like a rabid dog. I can take a dog.
But how?
Some dogs.
But how fucked up would it be once you find out it's not a dog?
It fucked.
I should have ran.
Yeah, should have.
Right. David Naughton wasn't very well. You got to admit, David Naughton, who plays David, he had a lot of David Naughton. David. Oh, yeah. He had the same name. He had a lot of screen charisma. He was very good at, very good screen presence.
Yeah.
But he really didn't do much before that. He had a commercial on TV back in the 70s, like 78 around there. What was it for? Dr. Pepper.
Ah.
And he was the Dr. Pepper guy. And he had a total 80s funky hairdo and wore a vest and flat, what do you call those, bell-bottom pants and shit?
Sure.
And he danced and stuff, and he sang, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, he's a pepper, you're a... Wouldn't you like to 70s. Be a pepper, too, Dr. Pepper? So he was a Dr. Pepper guy.
Man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
No singing classes?
All a cappella.
Oh, yeah. And that. And, but... He was goofing around on the set one day, and he was dressed like he had his werewolf kind of monster stuff on him, because he kind of does this monster face on him.
Uh-huh.
And he was just kind of goofing around. He walked, I'm a werewolf, you're a werewolf, and it was a trip. But aside from that, it was a monumental hit. This film won Academy Awards, just a big moneymaker. But that was it for him. He did a show. He had a show either before or after. It was called Making It. And it was a disco show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably went nowhere.
And it didn't. And it came out of either right before, I think right after Saturday Night Fever, because the goal, a disco thing was really hot. Disco, I mean, popularity lasted like 2-3 years at the most. And then
Disco's never dead.
Disco will never die.
There you go.
Yeah. And, so, Making It lasted just about a season, I think, on ABC. But unfortunately for David Naughton, that was it. He will forever be known as David from An American Werewolf in London. But you know what? I'd rather have one film as an actor that I would be known for all eternity. You know, a legacy kind of film, rather than a bunch of mediocre films.
Yeah.
And people, that's
he did the one movie with the what's his face?
Yeah, and the car that flies over the bridge and stuff. Yeah, I know that guy. But that's the American Werewolf guy, David Naughton. So it's a legendary film, and I think it's something he should be proud of overall. Now, tone-wise, you do get this, I don't know, London's a great place.
Foggy, eerie, something's not right here.
Right.
Jack the Ripper.
You know what's funny? You mentioned that. That's why John Landis chose London. Because you got Jack the Ripper, you got Jekyll and Hyde, you got that Victorian Gothic feel. So he felt that was a perfect setting for the film. And of course you have An American in Paris, which was a dance film or a musical that came out in the 40s. So a play on that, An American in Paris, An American Werewolf.
Okay. So I'll ask this question when we get to the later part of the. Just remind me about the question.
Okay, the question.
Yeah, the question.
Now you mentioned the porno.
Yes.
Do you remember the title?
No, but I remember the girl.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think it will forever be ingrained in my mind. I've seen it 50 times ever since I was a kid. Served for a great material. But, okay, when he goes in the theater marquee says the title of the film.
Okay.
You were just looking at the girl.
Yeah.
Okay. It says, "See you next Wednesday." That's the title.
Isn't that like John Landis's like
trademark
signature? Yeah.
Yeah, that's his signature trademark. In Thriller, when Michael Jackson and his girlfriend are watching the film and they're watching a werewolf movie and so forth, something horrible happens, and then you get a shot of them, right, of Michael Jackson and his girlfriend getting all scared, and you hear on the screen, "What happened? This and this and that." There's a note. What does the note say? "See you next Wednesday." The Blues Brothers, it's in there. All of his films have that. And what does it mean? I have no fucking idea.
He probably knows. It probably be something super sentimental, like it was the last thing a friend told him before the friend died or something.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
It would be fucked up.
Wow.
Or something super irrelevant, like, I don't know, I thought about drinking.
No, I like the first one. It's like, "Hey, how you doing?" "All right, my bro. Oh, hey, I'll see you next Wednesday. And he's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Oh, that's heavy. Now I'm depressed.
Yeah.
That's
kind of hits.
Yeah, no, now you brought the whole show down. Thank you.
That's all good.
Yeah. Okay, so box office. Again, like I mentioned, the film did really, really well at the box office. It had a $5.8 million, say $6 million budget. And it did about $19 million, which is about $19 million in today's dollars. So it had about a $19 million budget. Box office at the time was $62 million, which is about $210 million today.
Damn.
It did very well. Now, we heard the numbers for The Howling. Again, this was a big studio film. If I'm not mistaken, though, I'm not going to have to correct myself on the next episode. I know I might be wrong. Columbia, I think, did this one.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so it was a major studio versus AFCO Embassy, which is an independent studio with independent release, distribution and so forth. So it didn't do as well, didn't get that kind of exposure. Again, John Landis was known for some pretty cool films: Kentucky Fried Movie, The Blues Brothers, Animal House. So he was kind of a name already. Mm-hmm. So that kind of carried the film. So that would, I think, why it did as good as it did, and it got more exposure. And people go, "Wow, that's the best FX I've ever seen." Now, I prefer the special effects in The Howling.
The Howling,
yeah. They were gnarly. They were really intense. The transformation scene in here, people say it's the greatest. It is a damn good transformation scene.
It is.
You see the hair coming out of the pores. You see the hand stretch, the snout stretch, the hind legs come out. And it's fucking amazing. They're all cut shots to kind of like build that in the environment. But, it wasn't, I don't know. The Howling was just much more scarier. It scared me.
Okay, here's the thing. For The Howling, it made it seem more alive, if that makes sense. Like the nose was looking wet as it should in a werewolf or in a wolf.
More organic.
There you go.
Yes.
Versus in an American Werewolf, where I could tell that the hand was stretching, but it looked
rubbery.
Not more like an illusion than it was actually growing. Like it looked like the hand was just kind of tilting and the camera was kind of zooming out, like zooming out.
They kind of
make it look like, that's like growing more than it should. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, what Joe Dante employed in his film was a trick that a lot of filmmakers would do back then, and even now to some extent, even though everything's digital or computer generated cartoons. Is that the trick a lot of directors would use is they do this. They'd say, shoot it in low light. So you don't see all the defects. Or they would say, this is going to have a 2-second screenshot for this angle. So you flash at it, you see it just enough, but you don't see its flaws. Mm-hmm. You've seen Tremors, right?
Yeah.
They employ the same thing there. You don't get long, lingering shots of the worm monster in Tremors. Mm-hmm. You get these quick shots.
Just enough.
And you see these long, shots from a long distance. And you buy it. So I think that's what Joe Dante did with the Howling. is low light, use really great lighting. I mean, the backlit shots in The Howling were fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Where you see just the edges of the character, illuminated, and you see every follicle of hair. It was fucking beautiful. It looked amazing. So I think for that, The Howling is, but you have an American Werewolf in London where you have his friend decomposing throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And then you have a whole bunch of these people who he's killed say, hey, dude, kill yourself. We want to rest in peace now.
Yeah.
Which was fucking hilarious. So
I fucking couple at the theater too. They're like, oh, what if you try jumping in front of a bus? Oh, honey, why don't you just try drowning yourself?
Oh, a gun. No, and the other guy's like, oh, no, gun's too loud, too messy. Oh, shit. You know what? So I think for what it was, it's still an amazing film. It's still a great film. It utilized humor to downplay the horror. I think the horror was more the horror of a young man with hopes and dreams and ambitions. The horror of all of that dissipating and disappearing, and his knowledge of his inevitable doom, that he knew he was going to die, his impending doom.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you know that you have to die tragically? I mean,
Shakespearean almost.
It's almost Shakespearean. So I think that's where there's more depth in this one than The Howling. The Howling, it felt more folklorish.
Mm-hmm.
It had the more folklore European kind of, even though it's set here in the States, it still had that mystical kind of folklore feel to it.
Yeah.
The werewolf lore. But this one it was a lot more profundities involved in the storyline with his character. And, he had a future. He had a beautiful, British nurse as a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And, but he has to die. And the way he dies at the end is she has to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who shoots him. No, she doesn't.
She goes in the alleyway to talk to him, and then the fucking cops shoot at him,
But no, here's the thing. He did it on purpose. Watch the scene again. Okay, so at the end of the film, David, who's full werewolf now, which fuck if that wasn't amazing looking.
Mm.
It was an amazing looking wolf.
Okay, before anything else, I will give points to an American Werewolf, because while The Howling is bipedal, an American Werewolf is on all fours, and that shit is fucking terrifying. The scene where the dude is like fell down the escalators and he's just there.
Oh,
you see the fucking wolf on all fours just crawling.
Yeah, it's just so. When he's going down through Piccadilly Square,
yeah,
and you see him just run, and the way he moved,
yeah, gnarly.
These special effects, when they were wizards, they were geniuses. They were engineers of magic. But at the end, remember, so what happens is he goes all crazy on a rampage in Piccadilly Square and starts killing people, and the cops are after him, and they corner him in an alley.
Yeah, that part I remember.
Okay, and they're all lined up, and they have guns drawn on him. At this point, his nurse British girlfriend realizes that's David. She knows. And she goes there to try to talk him down. But he's a werewolf. He has no thought. He's just out to kill. But she does connect with him. And you see the wolf's eyes kind of soften.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
He recognizes her. He knows who she is. He knows who he is. So what does he do? He lunges at her. Why?
To end himself.
To kill himself. That's fucking Shakespearean.
That is Shakespearean.
So,
damn.
Yeah, and it's a damn beautiful film. I mean, it's up there with the ending for The Fly, when Gina Davis is the one who blows Jeff Goldblum's face away. I mean, it's like out of, it's a mercy kill. So in this case, he mercy kills himself for her and for everybody and for those he's killed.
Yeah.
So they can rest. So it's a very tragic film. And what I love about that, I keep hitting the fucking mic.
And you tell me not to hit it, man.
Yeah. What I love about, now the more I think about this film, the more I fucking like it.
Uh-huh.
Because it's tragic, it's morbid, it's violent, it's scary. Well, what's the soundtrack? What kind of music do they play?
I couldn't tell you.
Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Oh, okay.
All these classic werewolf type moon songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's upbeat. The comedy is upbeat.
Yeah.
And it plays in contrast with the horror. So it's almost like Landis is like, listen, this is fucked up. This is really a really horrible situation. But we're going to have fun at the same time. You know, kind of in a warped way. I mean, so yeah, definitely it's a classic. It's definitely a classic. So there were, believe it or not, there was one sequel. And
Okay.
An American Werewolf in Paris.
See, that was going to be my question.
Yes.
So you said earlier that it was kind of like playing on the whole thing of An American in Paris, which was a dance movie, right?
Right.
And I was going to ask you, was there any sequels? Because when I was going through, I think it was like HBO. No, it was Tubi.
Oh, okay.
And I saw An American, and I either saw just An American in Paris or An American Werewolf in Paris. I was like, I don't know which one or what is what, and I was curious to see it.
Yeah, and was a sequel.
Yeah, there you go.
It was a sequel, although it doesn't acknowledge itself as a sequel. I don't even think it mentions the original film, but it's John Landis, and he did, and it was very piss poor. I mean, it was not good. I mean, whereas the first one you feel the dread and the fear, but the irony, of life, and I think that's the whole gist of contrasting upbeat music with a horrific situation. This one just kind of fell flat. It fell really flat, and I was excited. I went to the theater to see it. This came out 97, and I was so excited. Oh, John Landis, an American. I get there and it was like, oh man, what a letdown. It had a lot of potential, didn't do well. So now let's jump into the reviews and scores, and we're gonna go right back to your buddy Roger Ebert. He gave it 2 out of 4 stars. And he says, An American Werewolf of London seems curiously unfinished, as if director John Landis spent all his energy on spectacular set pieces and didn't want to bother with things like, I don't know, transitions, character, developments, or an ending.
I will agree with him on that.
But it has an
ending.
I mean, it was a tragic ending.
He dies. Cut to credits.
Well, I love that, because it's like, okay, we're done here. Let's move along.
No.
You know what? I think it was an artistic decision. And I personally think it worked. But, you know, because it cuts what was the song? Some moon song or something.
Yeah.
Now, they did try to use Bad Moon. They used Bad Moon Rising, right? The song.
Yeah.
And there was, Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood, you sure are looking good. They were going to put that song in there, or I don't know if it was that one or another Moon song. But Landis felt like that one song, I forget what it was too on the nose. And he said, no, let's just not use it. But aside from that, it had a great soundtrack.
Got it.
It was really, really good. So IMDb has this one sitting at a 7.5. Metacritic, 55. Rotten Tomatoes has a critic score of 89%, which is, I believe, certified fresh.
Yeah.
And an 85% audience score. Letterboxd, 3.8 out of 5. So it's definitely a perennial favorite. People love this film. And again, I think it's because of its exposure, higher budget, studio backed. Because if not, I think The Howling would have probably been up there as well. But then again, had The Howling been a studio film,
oh yeah, it would have come out better.
I don't think it would have been as good.
Really?
No, I think the rawness, sometimes a raw film with little budget brings out the creativity in good directors. And I think Joe Dante, really, he's like, man, I don't have any money. What do I do? Well, fuck it, let's shoot it this way. Let's
figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Yeah. And that's only with really good directors, which Joe Dante is an amazing director. So let's go with you first. What is your rating on this?
So as far as An American Werewolf, seeing David leave his friend at first, I was like, coward. But, probably 90% of people would have done the same.
It's okay.
So there's that. It also adds and takes away from the mysticism and lore of werewolves in its own way. It takes away from the fact that they're kind of immortal unless they're killed the right way.
Right.
Like the silver bullet, the stake through the heart is vampire,
That's
right?
vampires, yeah.
Burning them, chopping out the hair, whatever the hell, however you kill them, right?
Well, werewolves, you can also kill them with fire.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. So it kind of takes away from that, and they're just killed with regular people bullets.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's true.
Okay, fine, whatever, fuck it. But it does add into the sense that, like, hey, you're not still a person. You're kind of a cursed person in between type of thing.
Okay.
And you're going to see the people you kill. That I found very interesting and very unique. So I got points on the back end with that. But I still couldn't get the ending, man.
The ending killed it for you?
The ending killed it, man. I paused the movie at one point to get up and kind of like stretch my legs a little bit. I realized, damn, I got 12 minutes left in this movie. There's so much left unresolved. And yeah, it loses a lot of points on that, you know. So it gets a 7 out of 10 full moons.
All right. Well, I found this one. It was a lot more polished. The cinematography, the acting. It was a sleek, sexy, fun werewolf film.
Mm-hmm.
Great soundtrack. I think John Landis is definitely one. He's a sick motherfucker.
Yeah,
he's sick. I mean, he's got a really twisted sense of humor, and it really shows in this film. David Naughton, for not being a major star at the time, really did an extremely good job. His friend Griffin Dunne steals the show. He comes from a long line of talent in his family. I loved his performance. The British nurse, the whole cast, great cast. Love the cast, and I like the whimsical, fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of approach to the werewolf lore and kind of creating its own.
Yeah.
Great film, nonetheless, and a classic. My rating out of this, 8 out of 10 howls.
Not bad.
Oh, I'm sorry, full moons.
Full moons.
Okay, 8 out of 10 full moons. So yeah, I mean, not to me personally, not as great as The Howling as a horror film, but a damn good film in itself.
Yeah.
Overall. So we have common plot elements. Who did it better? Let's see. Werewolf transformation in camera.
Sure.
Who did it better?
The Howling.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. And you got like, I feel there was like 2 or 3.
There was a bunch of them.
A lot.
There was a bunch of
them. And a bunch of mini transformation or de-transformations.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the money shot in the first, American Werewolf, in the apartment, but that's it.
Yeah.
And it's but The Howling definitely gives you the goods. So that has to go to The Howling. Werewolf lore. Who would it go to?
I would give it to American Werewolf, because here's the thing: everything that is already said in The Howling, it's your standard kind of thing.
So you take it as
silver
a given.
bullets. You expect vampires to be repelled by garlic, stake through a wooden stake through the heart.
It's vampires.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
I said you expect vampires to do this.
Okay.
So you expect werewolves to be the same way.
Granted.
But adding more lore into the sense of werewolves is cool. So I would give points to American Werewolf.
Okay. I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And a purist. When it comes to werewolves, I'd have to give it to The Howling.
Sure. Because
it really does delve and give homage to the old Universal The Wolfman.
Fair.
And I like that. I dug that. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the lore or the rewritten lore of Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
But I like it just a little bit better in this one. Creepiness, the creep factor.
Oh, The Howling.
Straight up.
Not even fucking close.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
the eerie music, it's almost like an Elmer Bernstein score, which I think he did score this film.
There you go. That's why it feels like it.
Yeah. So the winner, obviously, of who did it better is?
The Howling.
The Howling. Absolutely. So now, if you folks really like, and also you need to check some of these out. If you like a good werewolf movie, there's not that many out there. You can get a fuck ton of zombie films, vampire films, but werewolf films are hard to come by. There's one on HBO Max right now called The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, and Anthony Hopkins is in it.
Okay.
And it's a direct remake of the original, and everything, and it's okay. I mean, it's just a glossy, whatever remake. But you want to see some good ones? There's one called Silver Bullet with Corey Haim and Gary Busey, about a little kid who's in a wheelchair, and there's a werewolf, thing going on. The werewolf look is not that great.
Okay.
But it's a story that really drives that one. And it's based on a Stephen King short story, and well worth your look. I mean, just when you watch it, you go, oh, that looks like a giant fucking Muppet with blood. But aside from that, it's a great story and it's a lot of fun. It's a good, a kid horror movie. It's a good family Halloween movie. A lot of fun. Another one is called Dog Soldiers from 2002. This one was recently brought to my attention that I needed to watch it. I watched it, and oh shit, about some their Irish or Scottish soldiers on practice maneuvers in the forest, and they come across some werewolves, and there's a standoff between them and the werewolves. Not just a werewolf, werewolves.
They're wolves.
They're wolves, and it's amazing. It comes across like a cheesy, low budget film, which it is, but has great talent, great actors. The script is pretty solid. Dialogue is good. There's nothing you go in there, ooh, that's a bad actor. Maybe it's because they have an accent. I don't know. They have an accent.
It adds umph.
Yeah, it adds umph. It adds to the acting skill. But a really good film. I highly recommend that one. And then there was one from 2015 called Howl. And this is a good one. They're on a train.
I saw this one.
Yes.
Yeah, over in somewhere in the UK as well.
It's a European setting. Yeah, I think it's England, London. But fuck, that's a good one. Really good. So those are 3 really good exceptional werewolf movies. If
don't forget Twilight.
That's not a real movie. So let's go with next week. So we're going to continue this theme of who did it better next week, and we take to the skies. No, whoosh.
Superman.
No, whoosh. Whoosh,
whoosh.
Jet plane.
Wow. Whoosh.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with a movie from 1986 called Top Gun, and another 86 movie called Iron Eagle.
See, it was an eagle.
Yeah, even though they use an F-16 Falcon, but that's another story. But yeah, we'll be going with Iron Eagle and Top Gun, and we're going to find out who did it better on our next episode. So we really hope you've enjoyed the show. Please help to support the podcast by giving us a 5-star rating. People, it's a little button when you're playing your podcast underneath. Look for it. Please give us a rating. Be nice. Cut us some slack. A little rating. Fuck, we'll take a 3. Would you take a 3? At this point, we'll take a 3.
I'll take a 3.
I'll take a 3. And leave us a good review. Tell us how much you like the show. Another way you can support us is simply to subscribe to us. And you can follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Also, don't forget, drop us a line at our email at thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. Check out our Facebook group. Leave us a comment. Check us out on TikTok and our YouTube channel, where we have all of our episodes as well. All these links and notes, they're on our show notes. So check them out. So any final words?
If you hear a creak in the night, it may not be a wolf.
Ooh, it may be a what?
Yeah. To be continued.
Okay. So don't forget, please join us next week as we dive into who did it better.
Wait. Can I redo the quote?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay,
let's start from there. Carlos, any final words?
Yeah. You stop being afraid of the dark when you realize the monsters are out in the day.
Okay. I think I like the first one better.
I don't know. I kind of like this one.
No, that one is pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. That is kind of deep now to think about it.
Yeah.
It sinks in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho.
Well, so join us next week with Who Did It Better on the Filmjoe Podcast. So I'm Joe.
I'm Carlos.
And this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens.